Okay, so here we are in Max, and I'll be using Max 2012 for this tutorial, although you should be able to follow it in pretty much any other version of Max or even some other 3D software like Maya. As long as you can translate the Max tools to Maya tools, you should be fine to follow along. Okay, so before I get started here, a couple things I should mention. Just using generic Max units for measurement here, and if you go up to Customize down to Unit Setup, it'll be ticked off generic units by default. I'd recommend switching it to this if you have it set to something else like centimeters or inches or whatever, just so if you want to type in the values I'm typing in, everything will match up with the tutorial. Okay, so switch that back to generic. We won't build the phone to scale, we'll worry about adjusting the scale after it's complete, and that's a lot easier to do. Okay, so just close that, and we'll get started here. And the first thing we're going to do is set up some blueprints to model against, and I'm not going to actually use the viewport backgrounds for my prints. I'm going to do it with some image planes, and the reason for that is just so if we need to move them around and adjust them to get things to line up correctly, we can easily move the planes rather than have it locked into the background in Max. Okay, so I have a few blueprints that I created for the tutorial here. We have about 6 views, and the resolution on these is pretty crappy. But it should work good enough to get a basic block out of the model. Okay, so I'll include these as well as some reference images here in the project files for this tutorial, and you'll be able to download this at the top of the Cgtuts page under the tutorial details section. Alright, so I'm just going to pull this over onto my other monitor, and we'll get started here. So let's just go over into the create panel here, and we'll grab a plane, and let's go to the front view here and drag this out. Okay, and don't worry about the size right now, we'll fix that in a second. I'm also going to get rid of these grids by hitting G, and we want to make sure that our blueprints are centered to the world in Max here, to the origin lines right here, and we can do that by just right clicking on the move tool and zeroing out all 3 X, Y, and Z spinners. Okay, and we also don't need to have any segments on this, so we'll just right click the length with spinners here to make it a 1x1 plane. Okay, so on our images here, I've included the image sizes in each of the names, and we want to make sure that our planes are exactly this size so we don't have any distortion. Okay, so this will be the front image, and you can see that is 359 by 700. So we're going to want to resize the plane to that. Okay, so we'll go over to the modify panel here, and we'll just up the length to 700, and we'll make our width 359. Okay, I'm just going to zoom back a bit here. Alright, let's turn on our shading with F3. I'm just going to get rid of those selection brackets with J, and we can turn on our edges with F4. Okay, so we'll hit M and open up the material editor here. I'm just going to grab the first slot, and we'll just go down to the map channel for the fuse slot here and load in a bitmap. Okay, we'll pick our front image here. So open that up, hit OK, and assign it to the plane and show it in the viewport. Okay, and if your images don't look very bright, you can crank up the self-illumination here to 100% just to get rid of any shadowing. I'm using gamma correction in Max here, and with the new viewport engine into 2012, it's really not a problem, so I'm going to leave that at 0, but you can crank that up if you want. Okay, so let's keep things organized here. We're just going to rename this image. Now let's call it print-front, and we'll also copy this name and apply it to our image plane here. Okay. And it's going to get rid of the grids here in the left and top views, as well as the perspective, by hitting G. Okay. And we want to give ourselves a little bit of room to work here in the center, so we want to move this plane back from the origin line here. Okay, and we can just drag that back. Or if you want to be precise, you can actually type it in down at the bottom here. Just do something like maybe 200. Okay, and the back image of the phone is the exact same size as the front image, so we're just going to clone this plane. Okay, so in the top here, we're just going to hold down Shift and drag and copy this on the Y. And we'll choose copy and we'll rename it to back and hit OK. Okay, and we want it to be facing the other way, so we're going to rotate this, and we'll turn our angle snaps on and just rotate it 180 degrees. Okay, and I'm just going to temporarily zero it out, and we'll move it back here, -200. Okay, and we need to assign obviously the back image to this one. Alright, so we'll just clone our material here and rename it to back, and reload our image here, replace that front image with the back image, and it's exactly the same size. So open that up, assign it to the plane, and it should already be in the viewport. If not, just hit the show in viewport button there. Okay. And I'm also going to turn off this realistic shading in the viewport just so we don't have any shadowing. Okay, so the next one we'll do is the left side image. So let's go into the left view here, let's hit Z. And let's just make a new plane. Let's go drag this out. And once again, don't worry about the size, we'll fix that in a second. Let's just make sure that we have it centered. Okay, so once again, right click the move tool and zero out those axes. Okay, we'll just resize the plane here. So we'll do 700 on the length by 71 on the width. Okay, and let's just name this print dash left. And we'll copy that and open up the material editor with M. Let's copy our material over one more time, paste our name in there, and load up the left image. Okay, assign to the plane. Alright, looking pretty good there, so let's just move it a little bit away from center here. And we'll just pull it over. I'm just going to type this in just to be a little more precise. Let's do maybe like 300 maybe. Okay, and the right side image will be the exact same size as this plane, so we can just clone it once again. Alright, so just shift drag that over, choose copy, name it print right, hit OK, we'll zero it out here, and then move it over. We'll do negative 300. Whoops, that's the wrong axis, let's undo that. We want to do it on the X. Okay, and we also need to rotate this one, so we'll just spin that 180 degrees. Okay, and we'll load up our right side image here. Okay, so once again, clone the material, name it right, and replace the image. Okay, and assign that to the plane. Okay, when you're setting up blueprints, you want them to be opposite of what they seem like they should be. Okay, so you want to have your front image at the back of the model, so you can see it from this side, and you want your back image at the front so you can see it from the back side, and the same with the left and right here. You want to have your left image over on the right side and your right image over on the left side. Okay, so you can see it from each viewport, and that's the same with the top and bottom. We want the top image at the bottom and the bottom image at the top. Okay, so let's create that now. And we'll just do this with another plane, so let's drag it out again in the top view and just resize it to what we need here. I'm just going to zero this out. Okay, and we'll rename this print dash top and resize our plane here. Okay, we want this one to be 366 wide and 62 on the length. Okay, let's just open up our image here. Clone this over one more time. Let's grab that name. We'll just paste it in here and switch out the image with the top one. Okay, assign that to the plane. And we're a little squished here, so I want to take this back up to 62. And we'll get rid of this realistic shading in the viewport. Okay, and for this guy, I want to move it down to the bottom. Alright, so you can just pull it down on the Y, or you can type it in if you want to. Stupid axis. Or I'll just move it down by hand here. Around, you know, negative 400 or something like that. It doesn't really matter if it's precise. Okay, and the top or the bottom image, sorry, is the exact same size, so we'll just clone it up to the top as a copy, rename it bottom, and flip it over 180 degrees. Okay, and we'll just assign our last image to that. So clone the material again, name it bottom, and swap the image. Assign it to the plane, and I think we're good to go here. Alright, and obviously we want to be able to see through the backs of these planes here. We're not going to get anything accomplished if we're looking at it like this, and we can't see that front image. And same with the left and right. Okay, so what we'll do is just grab all these planes, right click, go to Object Properties, we'll take on back face call and hit OK. And that'll get rid of the back faces and only let us see the planes from one side, okay, which is what we want. Okay, so just make sure that you can see through there properly. And if you have any backwards, just rotate them around or mirror them. Okay, so I think we're pretty good. Let's maybe just select everything. Let's go hit H. Make sure we have everything selected here. And we'll just right click and freeze these. And before we freeze them, let's actually go to object properties again and make sure we uncheck show frozen and gray. We still won't be able to see those images when they're frozen. Okay, so now we'll take freeze and hit OK. And we won't be able to select anything in the viewport now. Okay, so we're ready to go. So let's go into the create panel here and we'll just grab a box and we'll go into the front view. And another thing I should mention here is just the navigation controls in Max. If you want to pan around your viewport, just hold down the middle mouse button and drag. If you want to zoom in and out, it's the middle mouse wheel in and out. And if you want to pan the camera or rotate the camera, hold down Alt and the middle mouse button. Okay, now let's spin around. Alright, so that's the basic navigation. And you can use the minimize and maximize button down here in the corner if you want to maximize and minimize viewports. I have a keyboard shortcut set up for that. I believe the default one is Alt W, but I'm not sure. Okay, anyway, so let's go into the front view here with our box and we'll just drag this out over the phone. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the size right now. We'll fix it in a sec. So just get it in there, give it a little thickness, and we'll also turn off this realistic shading. Alright, so let's zero this out again so it's centered. And also we're going to need to be able to see through this so that we can see our image back there. And you can toggle on transparency by hitting Alt X. But as you can see, that's really not that transparent. Especially with us having back and front polygons on the box, we really can't see much through there at all. So I'm just going to quickly make a simple animated material that we can apply to that so we have a little more control. So let's hit M. Okay, and we'll just grab another slot here, and before we make this, let's actually go down to the time configuration here at the bottom, open that up, and just right click on the lane spinner, okay, and I'll just take our frame count down to 2 here at the bottom. So hit OK, and now we only have the first frame and the second frame here. Okay, so let's turn on the auto key button and we'll add a keyframe here and we'll pull the slider over to the second frame and we're going to change the opacity of our material here to maybe 25% and click, and then we'll set a key and turn off the auto key button. Okay, so what that did was create an animated opacity on this material, and let me just change the color of this to something we can see. Let's do green and we'll apply that to our box. Okay, so we have 100% opacity at the first frame, and if we skip to the second frame, we're only going to have 25% opacity, and that'll make things a little easier for us to see here. Okay, and you can crank that up or down depending on what you like, but I think 25% is pretty good for what we're doing here. Okay, and you can change the color to whatever you want. Alright, and we can also quickly switch between each frame here by using the period and comma keys. Okay, so you're going to see me toggle that on and off all the time as we work on this. Okay, so let's just close this. And we'll convert our box to editable poly by right clicking and converting to editable poly. Whoops, let's do edit poly, not edit patch. Okay, we're just going to adjust the verts here a bit. Okay, so go to vertex. We'll zoom in at the top here and grab these 4 verts. Okay, make sure you have ignore back facing unchecked so you get the back verts as well. Alright, as you can see, these blueprints are pretty shitty looking. We have a lot of pixelation on them, but that's okay. We're just going to kind of line it up here. Alright, so we'll move these verts down. We're just going to line up with this inside edge here. Do the same thing at the back, or the bottom, sorry. Right about there. And we'll just kind of tweak this left side as well. Just going to move it into pretty much where this black starts. Okay, and let's do this side. Okay, same thing here. We want to right about there. The outer edge on this side is pretty much completely blown out. So we'll just line it up something like that. Okay. So we'll turn off vertex there, and we want to make sure we center this pivot point now that we've tweaked those verts. Okay, so go into the hierarchy tab, hit effect pivot only, and center object. Turn that off, and then we'll just right click the move tool and re-zero out the axis here. Okay, it's going to be a little bit off in our blueprint, but that's okay. We just want to make sure that the box itself is centered. Okay, we also need to adjust the thickness, so we'll go into the left view here. Let's hit F3. I'm going to turn off the realistic shading. And we'll just maybe scale this in a bit to shrink it up a little bit more to what we're looking for. Okay, and as you can see, it's a little off here, so I'm just going to move it over temporarily to the center. Okay, and we'll scale that out just a bit on the X and try to match it up with those blueprints. Okay, something like that's good. Okay, so we're pretty close at the top, and it's a little off at the bottom, but that's not a big deal. Okay, so I'm just going to right click on the move tool again and zero out the Y axis to put it back to where it was. And we're ready to go. Okay, so let's go over into the modified panel, go to edge. We're just going to grab this corner edge right here and do a ring. Okay, we're just going to, quickly chamfer down these corners to kind of get the shape of the phone, and then we'll start extracting polygon selections to get the border, and then we'll worry about doing all the buttons. Okay, so just ring those 4 edges there. And we'll go to the front view. Let's toggle our transparency on. And with those 4 edges selected, I'm just going to open up chamfer. We'll crank up the amount here, and we'll also crank up the segments. Okay, and this is going to be turbo smooth, so we don't need to go crazy on this. Let's do maybe like 6, and we'll just take the amount up and try to match the blueprints. Let's do maybe about 53, and we'll hit OK to that. Okay, and that'll give us our initial round corners. So the next thing we'll do is add a couple of edges this way. So ring these edges again and connect them up. Okay, we'll go into the left view for this guy, or even the top view. And let's add 2, and we're just going to pinch these out and match them up with the blueprints. Okay, so just take up that pinch amount to about 60 and hit OK. Okay, and we'll use these polygons here to make that middle border around the phone. So let's grab an edge, do a ring, and let's control click polygon here, so we have that polygon strip all the way around this thing. And we'll go over to detach here, open that up, and we're just going to rename this a border. Make sure you have these unchecked. We want it to be a separate object, so hit OK. Turn off polygon, and I'm just going to apply another color here so we can see this a little better. Let's drag this onto the main part of the phone, and we'll just make that maybe blue or something like that. Okay, we're looking pretty good. Let's grab the center section there again, and to get some thickness on this, let's go into the front view. We'll zoom in, and we'll just apply a shell modifier. Okay, and we'll just crank the outer amount up a bit until we match that up. And we'll do maybe about 3.3. See if that looks about right. Let's maybe do 3.5. Okay, and then we'll just right click and collapse that shell down by converting it back to a poly. Alright, we'll also hide the center section, so let's grab that, right click, hide select it, and we'll just work on this border. I'm also going to change this wire color to black, just so we can see the edges a little better. Okay, we're going to start breaking this up. We're going to need to break it into pretty much 4 pieces here for each side. First thing we do is just do a ring on these inside edges here. And control click polygon again, and we're just going to delete the entire inside out. We don't need those polygons. Okay, so you can see that on the blueprints here we have this split here at the bottom on each side, and on the actual iPhone 4S it actually has that break at the top and the bottom on each side, and I believe these prints are probably the original iPhone 4 maybe. I didn't have that, so I don't know, but we have this break on the top here, which actually isn't on the iPhone 4S. Okay, I'm just going to pull over my reference images here, and we'll go into this, and I'll also include these with the tutorial. So I have a couple here that are just collected from Google, and I also took some of my phone here. Let's make these a little bigger. Okay, and let's just blow these up for a second. Okay, and ironically these were taken with another iPhone 4S. But anyways, let's blow this up. Okay, these are pretty big, and they're also pretty crisp, so we can kind of see what the detail looks like here. Okay, so you can see we have that split at the top there, as well as over here at the bottom, and that's the same on each side. Okay, and there's actually a little piece of rubber or plastic or something in there that's filling that gap. But for right now, we're just going to break this up into each of the 4 sides to make it easier to work with the holes. Okay, so let's go back to max. Okay, and let's add some edge loops here. Okay, so we're just going to add one on the side polygons. Let's go over to edge, drag through these ones and these ones, just the side ones. Go into the left view here. And we're going to hit connect, and I'll add one segment on each side for us. So we'll just move this down on the y-axis with the move tool down to where that gap is on the blueprints. Okay, we'll just put it right in the center. Okay, for the top here, I believe we want to have the split right around this second edge here from the bottom. Okay, so we're going to grab that one and the same one over on the other side. Okay, and then we'll go down and grab those 2 edges on each side that we just put in, and we'll do a loop. Okay, so we should have those edge loops all the way around each of the 4 corners. Go back to the left view, and we're just going to use chamfer to create this void here. Alright, so open up chamfer. Let's take up the amount slightly. Let's do maybe 1.5, looks about right. And we'll just hit OK to that. Okay, so I think that's where we want those. Alright, so now we'll go over to the polygon, and let's get rid of these polygons. Okay, so just drag right through those in the left view. Come up to the top, hold down Control, and drag right through those. Alright, so I'm actually just going to delete these out. I'm not sure if I'm going to fill the gap later on or not, but we'll worry about that later. Let's just delete these. Okay, and we also want to make sure that we cap the tops off here so that we don't see in there. Okay, so I'm just going to select this edge here and hit Z to zoom in on it, and then we'll grab the front and back edge and hit bridge. Okay, now create a polygon from the front to the back there and fill that hole. So we'll do the same thing up here, bridge those, and the same over on this side. Okay, so bridge and bridge. Okay, and anytime you want to zoom in, you can just hit Z. Okay, and that'll recenter the rotation around the point that you have selected. Okay, that works on objects, sub-objects, doesn't matter. Okay, so if you ever can't zoom in properly, just hit Z and then it'll fix it for you. Okay, we want to make sure we get the bottom of this side piece too. Okay. Alright, so this has a pretty sharp edge on it on the actual phone, so we're going to need to add some support here so that it keeps the sharpness when we add our turbo smooth later on. Okay, so let's first add maybe a couple of extra segments here. I'm just going to select an edge there on the outside on each of these 4 pieces. Okay, just ring those, and you should have the entire outside selected. And we'll just open up Cgt here. Let's do 2 segments, and we'll just pinch these out closer to the outside edge. Okay, we're going to go pretty tight here. We want this to be pretty sharp. And we'll do about 96 or so, and okay. And we actually need to add that on the outside as well, so I'm just going to grab an outside edge there. Let's actually grab one on each of these pieces. Should have done this first before I broke it up, but that's okay, it only takes a second. Okay, so let's do a ring. Okay, now select all the outer edges on the front and back. Alright, so we'll do another connect here. And we'll dial this back a bit, we don't need to be that tight. Let's do maybe around 65 or so, and let's hit OK. And we don't need this inner edge. That's an open void, so when we add turbo smooth later on, that's going to maintain its hardness without an edge loop. Okay, so let's just click that edge, as well as these back ones here on each side. And let me just quickly loop these. So I'm going to loop those 2 edges and control backspace. Now that'll remove the edge as well as the verts. And then we'll go over here, select an edge, hit Z, and just reselect that back edge. Loop it and remove it, and the exact same thing at the bottom here. Alright, so just grab an edge there and zoom in and loop and control backspace. Okay, so we need to add some support this way so that this edge isn't too soft when we smooth it. So we want to add another edge loop right around here and right around here on each of these four ends. Okay, so you can do that with ring and connect, or if you have a newer version of Max, you can actually just use Swift Loop. Okay, so go up to the graphite modeling tools, down to edit, hit Swift Loop there. And it's a little finicky. None of these new modeling tools in Max are very good. If you don't have the 2012, I definitely wouldn't recommend upgrading. It has a number of bugs. Okay, as you can see, I can't even see that edge there for some reason. Alright, so we're going to right click and we'll do it the hard way. Alright, so I'm just going to do a ring here. And we'll do a connect. And we just want one segment this time, so just add one segment and we'll just slide this up to the end. And we want that to be pretty tight. Let's do around 96 again. And okay. And we'll come over on this side, do the exact same thing, ring and connect, and okay. Alright, and we need to add some here at the bottom. Okay, because these polygons are so long, it's going to be hard for us to adjust that edge using slides, so we're actually just going to use quick slice. It's going to go into the left view here, zoom in at the bottom, let's go into wireframe F3, and we'll hit quick slice over here. And this will just let you slice edges in to a model. So we're just going to click outside at the bottom here, go straight across, and click. And that'll do both sides at the same time for us. Okay, so we'll go up to the top. And I'm not going to use it on here because this is angled and I want to keep the edges as even as possible. Alright, so if we do a quick slice through here, it's probably going to clip that inside vert there, or really close to it, and it won't be even, so let's do it with ring and connect. Okay, and we'll dial that back just a little bit. Same thing over on this side. And this one, I want to do -94. Okay, and one more right here. And one more on the other side. Okay, and just make sure you get all those in. Okay, so that looks good. And sorry that took so long. I haven't done a tutorial in quite a while and I'm a little rusty. Okay, so to make this even easier, we're going to break these off into 4 separate objects, and we can do that by just grabbing the polygons on the top here. Okay, and we'll just use grow to fill that top selection. Alright, so just click grow until it doesn't select anymore. Okay, and then we'll use detach, and we'll detach this as border dash top. And let's just copy this piece. Okay, now I'll detach those as separate objects. We'll do the same thing at the bottom. Okay, just make sure you hit this enough times that selects all the polygons there. Okay, so paste our name in there, we'll call this bottom. And okay, and same thing on the side, we can just grab these ones. And once again, make sure you have ignore back facing turned off. Attach this one as the left side. And that'll leave us with just the right side polygons here, which we'll rename border right. Okay, and we'll also center the pivot points on all 4 of these. Okay, so grab all 4 objects and center the pivots. Okay, and let's just unhide all here. Let's grab that main part of the phone. Okay, and we'll just maybe quickly inset these front polygons here. So let's go to polygon, select the front and the back polys. And we're just going to create a little border here before we actually punch it in for the glass. Okay, so we'll go into the front view. I'm just going to hit F2 to turn off my polygon shading. And it's not really going to be that easy to see on those blueprints, so I'm just going to inset it. And we'll just eyeball this. Okay, you want it to be pretty thin. We'll do it around 2. Hit OK. and we'll just extrude these polygons in. Okay, so open up extrude there, and we'll just take it down to a negative amount. Okay, I'm going to push these in a little bit farther than we actually need to, because we are going to have a separate piece of glass that goes on each side. I just want to make sure we have enough room. Alright, so we'll push those in maybe like that, around -4, so it should be good, and okay. Alright, and we'll probably come back to the main piece after we have these buttons and everything else cut into this outside border. Alright, so let's hide this one more time. And we'll probably start on the top here, or maybe the sides. Let's maybe do the SIM card slot here first. So we're going to select this right side piece. Okay, so border left it's called. And I actually have those names backwards, so let's rename it. Border right. And this one should be border left. Okay, so select the border right piece, and we'll just actually grab these and hide these other pieces. Okay, so we'll start working on this.